The Seattle Seahawks had another OTA session yesterday at the VMAC. What's going on, everybody? Good morning. Happy Thursday. We've got some more Seattle Seahawks updates from the VMAC. Yesterday, there was another OTA session, and it was open to the media. So we got some updates from the beat reporters. I'm going to go ahead and round them all up here in this video. Yesterday morning and yesterday afternoon, we were getting a pretty good trickle of information. I think it even bled a little bit into the evening. So we are getting a pretty good feel for how this team is coming together. But it's still June. It's still June, right? So we can't take anything overly seriously one way or the other. So all we can do is dissect the information we are given. Now, my understanding is that there's going to be one more OTA session either today or tomorrow, and that session will be open to the media because I guess the media is entitled to 3 open OTAs, and the fact that the last 3 OTA sessions got canceled just means that the remaining OTA sessions at that point, which there were, well, 2, both have to be media available because they have 2 left. So as far as I know, there's going to be more stuff either tomorrow or Saturday. So at least we'll get some stuff to chew on. Again, I don't know how meaningful anything we learn will be, but we do what we can with what we have. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the updates yesterday. Please click the thumbs up button on this video if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new. Click the bell for notifications. Become a channel member for $2 a month. Those are the best ways to support the channel. So first, just to speak generally about the OTA session, every player on the roster was there other than Jonathan Hankins, according to Condota here. DeMarcus Lawrence was a recent arrival. He was not there on Monday, so that was new. Not that there was ever any concern, of course. Lawrence just signed. It's not like he would suddenly hold out. And Hankins, him skipping these sessions continues to make a lot of sense. I'm sure he's going to skip everything that he can get away with skipping because he is such an old player, and he just wants to preserve whatever little bit he has left in the tank for the season. He does list a couple of guys who are still out or limited due to injury. Jones, I'm not sure if that's Ernest Jones, who I do believe did some stuff yesterday, or if it's Josh Jones. I think it's Ernest, Nwosu, and Quinton Bohanna. Now, the inclusion of Nwosu on this list is not going to make people very happy because we've dealt with this a lot lately, right? We've dealt with this Uchenna Nwosu injury stuff quite a bit lately, and seeing him on a list of injured players right now, not going to make a lot of people happy. But again, it's June. I don't think we need to be alarmed yet. I know some people are going to be alarmed, but got to let that play out. Okay, so diving into some of the specifics from yesterday, we had some more mixed work from the offense in this OTA session, according to Greg Bell. Darnold threw a couple more interceptions. I think one of them was to DeAnthony Bell. Also threw some touchdown passes, including one to MVS versus Reek Woolen on the outside. So I didn't get exact specifics on exactly how Darnold's day went, but again, it sounds relatively mixed. It sounds like there's some good and some bad. And again, the defense should be ahead of the offense. And the other thing is, and I talked about this a little bit yesterday on the Bleacher Report, turnovers are not... They don't have to be the end of the world. You can be a player, you can be a quarterback that turns the ball over a lot and still be really good or great or even elite. Josh Allen turned the ball over a ton for many, many years. But anybody who knew anything about football knew that he was still one of the best quarterbacks in football. And being among the league leaders in turnovers was not going to do anything to dispel that. So Sam Darnold, I went over this the other day. He is a player that turns the ball over a lot. Like, it's not just the raw number of turnovers. It's the turnover-worthy plays that he has. It's the interception percentage. But that doesn't mean he can't be extremely good or great or even elite. you can turn the ball over a lot and still be a fantastic player. So I'm expecting a good amount of turnovers, but that does not mean he's going to be bad. In fact, he could still end up being the best quarterback we've had in almost a decade. Like that is possible. All right, so that was the long and short of what I could get out of the general sense from the offense yesterday. Not a ton of specifics, like I said, but that's fine. Yeah, DeAnthony Bell had a pick and a pass breakup, so he was singled out for having a really good day. DeMarcus Lawrence singled out by Corbin Smith here for being there. Also lists Ernest Jones as being back in action, which is why I said what I said earlier. I'm guessing that Ernest Jones was limited, and he was getting highlighted by Condota because of that. But I believe he's now at least out there on the field, so good to hear, good to see. Important part of what we're going to do this year. And hey, DeAnthony Bell trying to earn that roster spot. I think he's got it regardless, but it's good to see. Now, we also had this from Kubiak concerning Jalen Milroe. This is from Dugar, but the quote's from Kubiak. Milroe's work ethic is what stands out initially, says the rookie quarterback is here at 4 a.m. going through plays. So I said this a little bit after we drafted him. I said this during the rookie minicamp, and I think it's still true. I think Milroe has a lot to overcome to be a good NFL quarterback. And I've made my thoughts on him as a pro prospect very clear. But if he does not work out, it's not going to be for lack of trying. It does seem like his head's in the right place. This is not Jamarcus Russell. This is not, pick whatever quarterback you want to pick who doesn't want to put the effort in. This isn't even like a Jay Cutler situation. This is somebody who really, really wants to be good. And this is somebody who's trying really hard. So whatever he can be, he will be. And I mean that positively. Whatever he can get out of his NFL career, I think he's going to get it. I just don't know if that's enough to overcome the inertia of his shortcomings as a player. But when you look at quotes like this, that effort and work ethic stands out. So that's good to hear. Now we had some updates about the offensive line, which I know is an area of the team a lot of people are very interested in right now. Kubiak was asked about the competition at right guard in this tweet by Boyle. We're 5 practices in, it's wide open. However, Brady Henderson does believe that as of this moment, Haynes is seemingly in the lead, not by enough to draw any conclusions, but in this tweet here, Christian Haynes got the first crack with the ones at right guard and appeared to get most of the reps over Anthony Bradford. I think that makes sense. I think Haynes is clearly the guy that we should be higher on right now. That's not to say that I'm not intrigued by Anthony Bradford, but at this point, we have to look at Haynes and go, look, last year there were a lot of things working against him. You had Ryan Grubb, you had, Scott Huff, you had the lack of continuity on either side of him at center and right tackle. And at the end of the day, I think that Christian Haynes is the guy that you have to be a little bit higher on right now. Remember, Haynes had like triple or quadruple the amount of reps in college compared to Anthony Bradford as well. So he is, even though he's been in the league one less year, he's probably further along. So I think that makes sense. I think that Haynes is the favorite, and I think he will probably win the job, but I don't think it's set in stone. Lomia was with the 2s at left guard still. So that's interesting. I wonder if there's something there. Again, my concern is that this is just reflective of the fact that we did not do a very good job getting any depth at left guard in the offseason. Personally, I'm hoping that our backup left guards ends up being Cable Dew because I think that's probably his natural position. But hey, hopefully it doesn't matter. Hopefully Gray Zabel stays upright all season and we don't have to worry about the backup left guard, right? Also, another note about the offensive line that caught my eye from Greg Bell here. Jalen Sundell got some reps as the number 1 center over Oluwatimi, so don't count him out. I still don't think he's going to win the job over Oluwatimi. Oluwatimi is not a bad player. Oluwatimi, I don't think, is bad enough to lose his job to somebody like a Jalen Sundell that's barely played. I feel like Oluwatimi, if he is the starter this year, will be probably somewhere around like the 21st or 22nd best starting center in the NFL. And obviously that's not very good, but that's not something that somebody can just roll out of bed and top. So worth keeping an eye on. Some people like Sundell more than Oluwatimi. I don't think it's completely beyond the pale here. Also, more offensive line stuff. One of the highlights of the day was an interview or press conference that Abe Lucas did with the media, talking about his knee, talking about where he is right now. Abe Lucas said his tire that he played on was flat most of last season, but it's inflated now, which backs up most of the stuff that we're seeing and hearing concerning Abe Lucas. So very exciting, very encouraging. When asked if he's 100% healthy with his knee, according to Dugar, Abe Lucas says he doesn't think anyone is ever really 100%, but I'm playing. That's a good sign. I mean, I don't know how to exactly feel about that quote, but I mean, the fact that it's June and he's playing is certainly a good sign, right? We are still 3 months away from the season, and he's out there doing, as near as we can tell, pretty much everything. So, look, it's this is pretty make or break. And I want to be clear about this as well. I think every team in the league has players that they're just crossing their fingers on stay healthy, and they know that if that player doesn't stay healthy, they're probably hosed. But we are playing a little bit of a dangerous game this year with Abe Lucas, for sure. We don't really have a backup for him at all. It's what, Josh Jones, who may not even be a tackle, and Mike Jarrell, who is probably not ready to play in the NFL. So for me, it's a dicey game we're playing. I understand that every team plays it. We're probably playing it a little bit closer to the edge than some other teams. But I think that this season is going to ride pretty heavily on whether or not Abe Lucas can stay upright. And we also had this from Abe Lucas. There's a different identity this year. Non-negotiable. We're running the ball. Old school mentality with a new school principle. We're going to be elite in the run game. The stuff you would expect to hear from any offensive lineman, I think. Even though Abe Lucas is more of a pass-protecting offensive lineman, he's more of a pass blocker than a run blocker. Offensive linemen still usually like to run the ball. It's easier. You get to go forward. You get to be the aggressor. You don't have to react to what the defense does as much. So not surprising. And certainly what is expected given the fact that we've got Kubiak. We have a defense that should be very good, if not great this year. Should run the ball a lot. So I think that, excuse me. So I think that that's all within the realm of what you would expect somebody like an Abe Lucas to say, but it's still good to hear, still encouraging to see. And if it works out, this is a formula that should be able to win more than they lose, right? Really, really good defense, running game, play action. It should result in wins with this schedule. So the Abe Lucas stuff was a lot of fun. And to me, that's the real difference maker this year. What is Abe Lucas going to do for this team? More so than even Zabel. I know that a lot of people are really intrigued by what Zabel's going to do, and of course I am too, but I think that the impact of Zabel is not going to be as significant as the impact of Abe Lucas versus what we had at right tackle last year. Remember, we had 4 different right tackles last year. None of them were that good. Abe Lucas was probably the best of them, but by his own admission, he was not fully healthy. All right, so some other notes, mostly coming from a Brady Henderson here. Yeah, Jonathan Hankins remains the only player absent. OTAs are voluntary, so nothing to worry about there. Like I said the other day, I don't think there's a lot that he needs to pick up in OTAs, right? He's a nose tackle. He was here last year. It's the same coaching staff. It's the same defense. He'll show up probably for the minicamp next week and probably still not do that much. A couple of notes from Brady Henderson concerning what he saw out there. Sam Darnold and A.J. Barner had a nice connection. Darnold bookended a 2-minute period with completions. First, a deep ball over the middle to Barner, and then a short touchdown to Barner. And Barner's a player that exceeded my expectations a little bit last year. I thought that he was mostly just going to be a blocking tight end, and he still probably is, but there was some good stuff with him as a receiver last year. But as this tweet goes on to say, He continues to show he's also a receiving threat. So, cool stuff. I like it. I know that there may not be a lot of room for a guy like A.J. Barner to be catching a ton of passes because we got Arroyo. For the moment, we still have Fant, too, actually. So, for the moment, it's very crowded in that tight end room, and then you've got all the other receivers, and then you've got what looks like will be a run-first team. But remember, Kubiak likes to go heavy with the tight ends. So, Barner will find his way onto the field, and I think we're getting more than we expected out of this guy so far. So, good to hear. Hopefully, that connection continues to develop. Ken Walker didn't do very much, continues to probably be rehabbing from that injury. Remember, he went on IR last year and missed the last couple of games, and I imagine that there's going to be a tremendous interest in keeping him in bubble wrap, and you can only do so much of that, but he is such a good fit for what this offense does under Kubiak that we can't be messing around with this too much. He did work off to the side with a trailer and then didn't do any 11-on-11 or 7-on-7. No official word on his status yet, but I'm not terribly surprised that he's being held out right now. There was one point during the OTA session today where he had to stop practice to forcefully remind players that you cannot have contact in OTA. This was after an overly physical moment between a receiver and a cornerback. So there's chippiness, and I think that's more good than bad. It becomes bad if somebody gets hurt, I guess, but it didn't turn into that, so let's just hope that they can keep their head. No contact rules this time of the year, something you've got to take into account while watching practice. Defenders sometimes let up on throws that they would more heavily contest in full contact situations, which was kind of the discussion yesterday concerning the there was the one play where Emin let a receiver go around him, and there was a big debate over whether or not that was reflective of him making a mistake or if it's reflective of it being a no contact drill. So yeah, just something to keep in mind here. It's not going to be defenders going at full strength. Also got this from Hawk Blogger. He's been getting some good stuff over there. The other day he got the stuff from Murphy. This time he interviewed with Charles Cross. He ended up kind of interviewing the rest of the offensive line as well. The interview is going to be aired, I think, later today, so go check it out over on his show if you would like to view the whole thing. But highlight, Cross put on 15 pounds of muscle, and this goes back to something that I talked about a little bit last year. Charles Cross, last year, as good as season as he had, was not in his physical prime yet. You look at his age, he's got more muscles to put on, and I think that this year, I think you're going to see a different Charles Cross. I think that he is going to finally get his grown man muscles. So really like seeing that. And then you had this little piece from Greg Bell about how Emin is already kind of being brought into the club by Devin Witherspoon, who is very much taking a leadership role on this team, already bringing Emin into the fold as part of this defense that looks like they're going to have some swagger and some attitude. I think that's about it. I think that was about all the updates I was able to get. And like I said, there should be one more media available OTA. It's either today or tomorrow. So I'll provide updates when we get them. But that's the rundown. So let me know what you guys think down below. I will see you guys later. Go Hawks. Everybody have a great rest of your day. Maybe another video later today. Maybe not. We'll see if anything happens. And either way, there will be a video tomorrow. Go Hawks.